Hey everyone, Howl's Gear here, and I'm Dimitri. Today our task is to change the oil. The oil filters, the separator filter, and the oil filter on this 2016 Freightliner Cascadia with a DD15 engine. So we've got everything ready for this, prepared the area where we'll be draining it. Naturally, we popped the hood. And again, this is a 2016 Freightliner Cascadia 125 cab with the DD15 engine. Alright drivers, what's the first thing I do? I unscrew the cap so that our oil drains out better. Now comes the hard part, which is crawling under the truck itself. I've laid out this mat here to make it more comfortable. Yes, friends, and I've installed a custom valve here. Why? Because I changed the oil myself to save time. I know better than anyone that times are tough right now. Diesel is expensive, and it takes forever waiting at repair shops just to get an oil change, so I do it all myself. This valve is very handy, friends. See, you just unscrew it like this. Well, I've drained almost all the oil here. I'm just finishing up the draining process right now, and then after that's done, we'll move on to the next step. Besides that, I always use the original, genuine filters that are specifically made for Detroit engines. I don't buy aftermarket or off-brand filters. Cheap Chinese versions. As you can see, this is from an official Freightliner dealer. I use Rotella T6 oil, SAE 15W40. In my opinion, it's the best oil out there and has proven itself. I don't know about you, but I change it every 17,000 miles and use this oil. It's worked out great. Now, guys, to change the oil and fuel filters, you'll need a 36mm wrench and a tool like this. It's nothing too complicated. I've already loosened everything here. This is the oil filter. I loosened the fuel filter. I've got everything ready to swap these out. And friends, most importantly, I'll show you a trick with the fuel filter, where a lot of mechanics tend to make a mistake. Check it out in the next part. To replace our oil filter, we're using an original one that I bought from the Freightliner dealer. The oil filter's changed. It only took us about 2 or 3 minutes. Friends, here's our old filter. You see it, right? And here's what I wanted to tell you. On some DD15 models, there's this little nipple. It has its own specific seating spot inside. And many mechanics do it the wrong way. They put the filter on the cap, and then they start screwing it in. What happens at that point, friends? This little tip breaks off, gets into the high-pressure pump, and then all of your injectors fail, and you're stuck with an engine repair. In the best-case scenario, you won't be able to start the engine because that tip will get into one of the channels and block the fuel supply to the pump. But that's also very bad. When the pump runs dry, it produces metal shavings. Since this is a common rail system, naturally, it's a very sensitive kind of system. If shavings get in here somewhere, it results in a clogged nozzle, your injector. And one of your injectors fails, and you're looking at a very expensive repair. So friends, I'll show you the right way to secure the filter. Now we see this step here. This came in the can. With our filters, I'll show you what this is for, why I'm doing this. You don't have to use this, just regular grease or lube. You can use this. I always grease it up to make sure it's ready. I'm also changing the O-ring on this filter because we have a new one in the kit. I recommend changing it since it's right there. Sometimes they just dry out, so it's better to just do it. There. Now, friends, the next step, if you can see, right here is this little tip. This is the seating spot. What do? We insert the filter first. Line it up. Got it. You see? The filter is in, the tip is in place. If you're unsure, you can do it again. It's better to double check. There, it's seated. After that, we start screwing on the filter cap. Under no circumstances should you put the filter on the cap first and then screw it in. Do it exactly as I'm showing you. Also, friends, we're changing this little screen. As you can see, it's included in the kit. I bought all of this from an authorized Freightliner dealer. Right. This is how we change the O-ring. I'm using this tool because the ring is on there tight. I recommend changing the O-ring. Why? Because it needs to be changed. That's how we put it in. Yes, here we go. We're screwing in the fine filter where the mesh is, and now, friends, we'll move on to the main step, replacing the main filter, this one right here. Once we've done that, friends, we move on to the next stage, which is our fuel pro separator. We've already drained all the old fuel from it. Now, using a wrench like this one, it's sold everywhere, even on Amazon. You can actually buy it at just about any store near you. Really, anywhere you usually shop. Even from an official dealer. But I recommend getting it on Amazon because it's much cheaper there. What do I do next? I take some brake cleaner and start cleaning everything out to remove any excess dirt from here. Don't even think about peeling off this paper because it's intended by the factory. As you can see on the old filter, it's the same on the new one. Naturally, the next step is, I'm changing the rubber seal since we have a new one. I'll install it. And I'm changing the seal we have here and putting in the new one. Excuse me. And now for the most important part, friends. I'll show you this so you don't make mistakes with this filter. Because many people often make mistakes since this seal doesn't sit tight. You have to press it down. What's the first thing I do? I press down on the filter. I make sure that this rubber seal doesn't slip out. I don't know, maybe someone else does it differently, but this is exactly how I do it. And then I start screwing it in, tighter and tighter. Why does this happen? Why? What am I doing this for? So that the seal doesn't slip out. Because it often slips, and when you pour fuel to prime your system, it starts leaking from either here or here. The system sucks in air and you can't start the engine. It's not that difficult. My dear fellow drivers. So, my advice is simply to do it this way. Friends, now for the next step. I have this canister of clean diesel fuel, but in your case, you can just drain some from the tank. Why am I doing this? I'm gonna pour this fuel in here now, up to this level. Why? To save time, so I don't have to pump new diesel into the system. Now that we've filled it with fuel, we can close the cap, as they say, and move on to the next step. Which is to go ahead and prime our fuel through the system a bit. Yeah, friends, this time I bought the wrong kind of canister. And you see how I have to climb up on the wheel like this, just so that I can pour the oil in without spilling any of it on the pavement. My friends, often in buckets like these, there are these unpleasant surprises. And that's why your funnel should always have a mesh screen. It's a must. I highly recommend it to you. Because in the future, there could be a bolt or some part, and you'll end up needing an engine repair. Next step. Checking the oil. Checking the level of the new oil we just poured in here. Meaning whether to add more or not. Here it shows me minimum, maximum, right at the level, exactly what's needed. Yes, friends, I change the oil every 16 to 17,000 miles.